Last year, you could buy the card for $2,000. And in April of this year, they were about $3,200. The most recent one sold for $8,000.
Welcome, everyone, to Dinging Corners, a baseball podcast powered by SlabStox. I'm your host, Nate, and today we are going to be talking about Jeter and Griffey inserts from the 90s. There's been a lot of insert talk in basketball recently, and so somebody DM'd us and requested that we talk about inserts from baseball. I happen to not know anything about inserts from the 90s, but we brought on somebody that does, and that is Cage Lawyer from the Lucas
Lucas Tigers and Bronze Oh My podcast.
What's up, everybody? Tigers and Bronze Oh My podcast. I knew I was going to butcher that.
It's all right. People know who it is.
Cage Lawyer, welcome. You can find him on Instagram under Cage Lawyer. Great guy. We've been DMing him for a while. So welcome to
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Dinging Corners.
Appreciate it. So I love the show. Love the content. Get emails from you every day. I've bought many things from the SlabStox email. I got myself a SlabStox shirt. If you guys haven't bought that yet, go out and get them. They specifically went and got a 3X for me personally. I love it. So these guys are awesome. Great content. Love to be on. Feel lucky to be joining you today.
Well, I feel lucky to have you because I know a lot of people. It's hard to get people's times to join on podcasts at random times, especially spur of the moment, 2 days before. So thank you for joining, Cage. Now, I introduced it a little bit at the beginning. We're going to be talking about specifically Jeter and Griffey inserts.
Yeah, 100%. So basically what you guys asked me to do here is this is a labor of love, right? I mean, these are guys who played and were the guys when I was younger. Don't want to talk about how old I am. It's actually my birthday today, so happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday, Cage. Everyone in the comments, wish him a happy birthday.
There we go. So nice and easy. These were the stars of the game when I was playing. Griffey was the Trout, right? And Jeter then came a couple years later, and you could say he was Trout part 2. These were the guys that everybody was a fan of, everybody collected. So I went and I did some digging, and I tried to find what I would buy, what I have bought, what I own on Jeter. Did a bunch of rookies from the 90s. Did the same thing with Griffey. Griffey actually was 1989, so I don't know 90s. But let's do Jeter first. You can't start talking about Jeter's cards, rookies, inserts, you name it, without mentioning first the SP foil. So Jeter's rookie year, if you want to call it that, was 1996. But there wasn't the Bowman stuff at the time. Bowman wasn't doing prospects. Bowman had cards. Bowman came out in 1989, actually, with Griffey. We'll talk about that in a second. But they were just it was a variant of Topps, the same kind of deal. It wasn't prospect cards. It was just another set. The same way Upper Deck or Fleer or Score or anything else was another set. They weren't, doing a deep dive into the minor leagues. But in 1993, they did a pretty good job of putting Derek Jeter, who was a prospect or a draft pick, in the sets, even though he didn't really qualify as a rookie until 96 when he played enough with the big league team. So there's definitely an assortment of 1993 Jeter cards, but if you are an investor in the card, if you are somebody who money is no object and you're looking for the best of the best Derek Jeter card, it's that SP foil number 279. I'll mention the PSA 10 because I try to do PSA 10 as kind of like that marker for pricing, but I'll mention the PSA 10 on this one, although that doesn't really give us a great marker for pricing because of the thousands upon thousands of these that have been graded, there have only been 21 PSA 10s ever. It's a very condition-sensitive card.
Is it because of the foil?
Yes, yeah, 100%. Because of the foil, you get some chipping on the card. You get some, foil issues. The edges are not so good. So, of all of these that are out there, only 21 10s. I'll use and by the way, the last one sold for $165,000. So it's not a card for everybody, right? I mean, if you happen to have bought a Charizard last year and just sold it for $225, maybe you could pick up a Jeter instead. But if that's not you,
it makes sense. 21 PSA.
It's only 21 of them. Exactly. Only 21 of them. So it's a supply and demand thing. Now, PSA 9 we can utilize for our discussion today. There's 608 of those. And just for comparison, I mean, even that's a tough grade. I went a little deeper into the pop report just so that we had it so you guys understood just how condition sensitive this is. In PSA 8, there's almost 9,000 of them. There's 8,864 PSA 8s. So think about just the small percentage that are 9s and 10s. 10s is minuscule, but even the 9s at 608 is nothing. There are 14 or so 8s for every 9 out there. PSA 9, this card it's got a weird trend, right? About a year ago, as we were talking about, Jeter is going to go into the Hall of Fame, you name it, and people started buying his cards. It was middle of last year, about a $6,000 card in PSA 9. And then in October of last year, it went down to about 5,000. In April of this year, you could buy them in the fours. But and then July of this year, I mean, I saw PWCC one sell for over 8. Currently, it's at about $6,800, $6,900 the last couple of sales. So it's kind of all over the chart. And believe it or not, you could say that this one in 9 is almost flat year over year. It was about 6, middle of last year, and it's high 6s now, which is a little bit weird. To see that kind of spikes in a card like that, but that kind of peaks and valleys. But this is a card that I guess there's enough of at 608 that you're not seeing that steady trend that you're going to see in some of our other cards that we talk about. But what you see with this is Jeter is one of those blue chip stocks. The guys you have me talk about today, Jeter, Griffey, they're not prospects. They're not guys who are high risk, high reward. They're ones that have very minimal risk. And I think that if we expand this out over time, you'll see if we went a year back on this card, it was selling for $3,000, $3,500. So even though you're seeing this up and down trend,
it's going
like any stock, if you were to pan out a little further, it is a slow, steady upward climb for the card.
So that's what you like to see.
Exactly.
You're not going to be losing drastic amounts of money very quickly on this like you can on a Luka or a Giannis.
Or on anybody who's still playing, because as we saw with Dak a couple of days ago, right? Jeter's not going out there and and hurting himself. Although he's still in baseball, right? I mean, he's still part of the Marlins organization.
He can hurt himself by being a terrible GM.
Yeah, but look, I mean, you could also say he's helping himself because he got a Marlins team into the playoffs that nobody expected. But you got to kind of hope, though, that he doesn't, put his foot in his mouth and say anything you shouldn't say. That's the only thing you worry about with Jeter. But he's one of those. He's solid in the Yankee reputation. Between him and Mariano Rivera, it's the greatest living Yankee. Whitey Ford just passed away, so I mean, this is somebody whose cards you should expect. If you pan out on the graph enough, this is a card that's going to slowly ascend.
Now, quick question. Do you think, obviously there's hundreds of thousands of Yankees fans.
Yep.
If not millions upon millions of Yankees fans, right?
There you go.
And, you say 21, so it makes sense that the PSA 10 is really expensive, but only 608 for the PSA 9. Do you think it's just because there's a lot of Yankees fans out there that collect cards but just don't know about the SP foil? And once they find out, these prices will pop off?
Honestly, if I were, and I'm going to go through some cards here, honestly, this is not the card of his that I would buy on the list, because I think people do know about it. I think even casual fans, non-Yankee fans know about that SP because it's one that it made a lot of headlines when the PSA 10 sold for over $100,000. Okay. And I think this is the first one. If you were to type into Google, Derek Jeter best card, number one on the list is always going to be this one, the 93 SP foil. And just as an aside, I don't know how much time we have. I can talk for 5 hours about these guys. So we obviously don't have that much time. But I opened these boxes as a kid. I mean, I paid $85 a box for SP baseball, and Jeter was not even like a thought in the boxes. There was a cool insert at the time called Platinum Power. It was like a die cut. It's a blue thing with like bronze foil on the top. I completed like 4 sets of them. And I mean, you had guys in there like Darren Dalton. And, Griffey was in it because it was his 4th year. I have a complete set of them. And that was the chase. These cards were like, who cares? There was a Chipper Jones. It wasn't exactly a rookie. There was a Manny Ramirez. There was some good guys. But Jeter, like, you weren't even thinking about Jeter.
Yeah,
to see
the type
that
of card you pull, you're like, he ends up in your bike spoke type of thing.
Yes, so I mean, I'm not that old, but yes, exactly. But I mean, the point is, don't throw this stuff away. When you're opening boxes, you never know who's going to wind up being that card, right? I mean, if you open up Top Series 1 this year, no one was pulling out their Kyle Lewis cards, and everybody's pulling out the Jordan and the Bichette, and and then everybody else. Nobody's pulling out Kyle Lewis is going to win the Rookie of the Year. Same thing with with the Chrome stuff. I mean, no one was pulling out Randy Arozarena, but now everybody's feverishly looking through their common stacks, to
Yep.
find this guy's cards. So it's a fun little memory of mine, because I literally opened 50 boxes of this 93 SP, and to see the thousands that they sell for now sealed. I wish I would have just threw them in a closet somewhere, but
Hey,
this
that. I mean, you could do that with
anything.
Prism Retail this year.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
Aaron got 10 boxes for $70 a box off of Walmart, and then sold them for 150 a box, except for the ones he opened. What are they?
Yep.
$700 now?
Same deal, right? It's the
Yeah.
same deal. But I mean, look, so that is the card, right? So I mean, if you are gonna take nothing away today, other than I want to get the best Jeter, the one that I'll show off that everybody knows, the rookie card. This is it. I mean, there are other ones we're gonna talk about, but the SP Jeter is pretty well known in the hobby as his top card, and I anticipate a continued slow climb. That'll be a 5-figure card probably by the end of next year, just because enough people want it, enough people are putting in money into blue chip guys in baseball, and he's one of them. And there's not enough of those 10s out there for the 10 collectors. It's one of the few people will drop down to get the 9 on.
Yep.
So the next one I'm actually going to show you guys. I own one. You can see that.
Oh,
That is
yep.
that's a
That's a
1993
classic right there.
Tops, and that's a gold version, right? So this is see the gold foil. The only real difference you can see is on his name on the bottom there. You see the gold over Derek Jeter. Obviously, it says it in the slab there. So this is 93 Tops gold. It's card number 98. There are some cool versions of this, right? So the 1993 Tops, that is his Tops rookie card. So that's the rookie card of his. The gold is a parallel. The base card has 2,700 PSA 10s. The gold only has 382. And this was my kind of counterplay, more stories of regrets, right? So, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, when I really started getting into investing in cards heavily, I said I was going to try to get 100 cards that were $1,000 or less and put together a collection of 100 cards at $1,000 less. And I was going to comprise of 3 cards. So get these 3 cards that were $1,000 or less when I started this little endeavor. It was Mike Trout update. It was LeBron James 2003 Tops Chrome. And it was this card. And of the 3, this card was the cheapest. So I was able to get the most of these. And at one point, I was buying them 600, 650, you name it. At one point, and so we're talking back, if you go back just to April of last year, you could still get this card for $600. At one point, I had like 18 of these. I only have 1 left. The other 17 are sitting in Gary V's vault. I sold them all to Gary in one stack sale for about $900 each. And the card today the last one sold for $3,600.
Oh.
So, yeah, so it's one of those things, right?
Do you have any LeBrons or Trouts?
I sold all of them also. I sold every one of them. But I've bought other stuff.
But you bought other stuff.
Yeah,
hey,
you buy other
that's
stuff.
A good point.
I
I'm
buy
sorry
other
for
stuff.
overreacting.
But I mean, listen, it's not the worst one. When I first got into, and this is off the topic, but we'll get right back to this Jeter top in a second. But my first PSA grading myself about 2 years ago, I thought the 2012 Prisms were the coolest cards in the world, and I bought as many Klay Thompsons as I could find, right? And I wound up getting 50 Klays for $10 to $12 a card. And I sent them into PSA, and I graded 40 of them, and I got 36 10s, right? 36 10s.
Wouldn't happen nowadays.
No, it wouldn't happen nowadays at all. I got 36 out of 40 were 10s. And at the time, even though I paid $12 each, the PSA 10s were going for approximately $85 to $90. And, I was just getting back into this. I wasn't buying. I wasn't a huge Klay fan, but I was getting into the whole PSA flipping, like grading raw cards and making money on it. So I was into those 40 cards for about $500. And somebody offered me for all 36, offered me about $3,200. So about, I don't know, $85, $90 a card, whatever it worked out to. So I'm like, I'm going to turn $500. And PSA didn't take 6 months to grade them for me. It was bulk. So, let's say I was into it for $600-700 after the whole deal. And I'm going to sell them for $3,500. I jumped at that. I'm like, this is great. $3,000. Now those cards, I don't know what they're at, but they were up to like $1,800 a card per card. right? So I haven't looked recently because I don't like to torture myself. But
Yeah.
36 of them at $1,800 a card. I mean, what's that value at? I don't even want to talk about it. Was it 50 something $1,000?
Yeah.
I sold it for $3,000. Those are also in Gary's vault. Another nice purchase by Mr. V.
Well, here's the thing.
He's a smart guy.
He's a smart guy. Here's the thing, everyone. I'm sorry for overreacting to your the prices. You made money,
Yes,
which is the
exactly.
most important thing in this hobby, because a lot of people will hold on and lose money because they want more money.
Mm-hmm.
You can't predict the future. So for those of you listening, I've preached this before. I overreacted. Take your money, reinvest. You made plenty of money on other guys since that point, I am
So let me
sure.
tell you, right, on the Jeter sales and these, I got about $20,000 last summer, and with that $20,000, I made two purchases. I bought a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Lou Alcindor 1969 PSA 8.5 for $14,000. It has since sold for 80.
Yep.
And I bought a Charizard first edition PSA 9 for $4,000. So yeah, obviously I could have held these cards, but I used the money to buy something else that I thought at the time was a better value, and I think I'm about even on it if we're being honest. But yeah, I mean, you got to remember, yes, you can always look back at what I missed out on, but as long as you're staying in the hobby and you're using that money for something you think is gonna go up in value, you name it. But this Topps Gold, just so I can get back to it, right there, it was a big jump. If you go back to July, you could still get this card for $1,600, $1,700. And you go back to April of this year, I saw sales in April for $900. So, even though I sold it last year at approximately $900 a card, 6 months to almost a year later, I'm like, all right, this card hasn't gone up at all. I think people have realized how scarce it is. There are half of these as there are PSA 9 SP, the ones we talked about before, that sell for
Mhm.
$7,000. There's 382 of these in PSA 10. And it's his Topps rookie card, and people like to look for the Topps rookie card. There's no update in 1993, so this is it. A little side note on this one. There's two other ways to play this card. One of them I like a lot. It's just convenient how it worked out. In the 1993 Topps, it was the first year of the Marlins and the Rockies in the league. That was the expansion year where they came in the league. And Topps put out sets to commemorate them, where every card in the set had a Marlin or a Colorado Rockies gold foil embossed on the card. All right? You can only get them in those sets, you name it, and they were pretty limited. So there is a Derek Jeter Marlins version, which is funny because now he's the GM of the Marlins, right? And there's a Derek Jeter Rockies version. And the Rockies version is much rarer in PSA 10. There's only 66 PSA 10s of his Topps Gold Rockies version. There's 154 of the Marlins. They sell for even more than this because there's 382 of this. It's a card a lot of people don't even know about, right? So that works both ways. One, it's rare, so there's not a lot of supply, but because people don't know about it, there's also not the same demand for the card. But it's a cool way of playing his rookie card. I like them. I searched for the Marlins one at a decent price myself, just because now he is, he's now a Marlin.
Yeah,
I mean, he's always a Yankee, but he's a part owner of the team. So it's a cool little tie-in for his career. But I digress, and I really digress to my stories here. But the card that I probably would tell folks to buy now, if I were telling people which card of his I think has the most upside for right now, is the 1993 Stadium Club Murphy set. It's card number 117. All right, so the Murphy set was a weird stadium. It came in a little stadium package. You'll see the card; it's pretty cool. It's just a frontal pose with him, with the bat, kind of normal baseball ish pose. It's got also a weird little chart of ups and downs, but this card it's only got 907 PSA 10s of nearly 5,000 grades. It's 40 something hundred graded, 4,300, 4,400. So it's still less than 1,000. So clearly it's got more than the Topps Gold that we just showed you, which has less than 400, but still 907 for Stadium Club. It's a Topps thing. Stadium Club is still out now. Obviously it's still a brand that you can buy packs of and open this year. It's not thought of as an investment piece, but this one is. Why I like it hasn't seen that jump yet. You can still buy it now for 850-ish. If you go back a couple of months, it really hasn't changed that much. It's got a steady one of these uptrends, but it hasn't
Mhm.
had the quote big jump that we saw from July to now on that Topps Gold. I mean,
Yeah.
that Topps Gold that I just showed you has basically doubled since July, and it's tripled since April. Right in
Yeah.
April this year, this card was $650. In July, it was $700. Now it's $850. So you're seeing it go up. And I don't want to poo-poo. If you bought it at $650 and it's
Yeah.
$850
Still
now,
making money.
you've still made 25 to 30% on the card, which you're not going to do that in most stocks in the stock market. But this is a card that, because of that little steady increase, I would imagine people are noticing it. There's only 907 of them, and it's a card that was previously not that far from price of that Topps Gold. I remember a time in September-ish of last year where you could buy the Topps Gold for about 850, and this one was 800. Like, it was approaching the same kind of price range. But this one has not really, moved with the gold, most likely because the gold has, about half 40% of the pop. But this is the card because, at that price range, you find somebody, you maybe get an eBay coupon, a 10% off. SlabStox, you guys are good at sending that out, and reminding people, use your eBay bucks. A lot of people still have their eBay bucks from a couple weeks ago. This is a card that you can add to your collection. It's a Jeter rookie in PSA 10. There's less than 1,000 of. And I expect, of all the cards in the list that we're talking about, that's one that is going to see a jump, because we saw jumps in the in the SP, right? So that was a $4,000 card earlier this year. It's now 7,000. We saw jumps in the gold. It was a $1,000 card. It's now three and change. And the next card I'm going to mention to you has seen similar jumps. For whatever reason, that Stadium Club version of Jeter has not seen that meteoric jump. If I were looking to put my money in a Jeter rookie card right now to see actual increases, that's where I would put it.
All right, Cage. Allow me to play contrarian here, just to
Please.
get some thought provoking in it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, SP no longer really around. So
Yep.
that might play into this question. But do you think Stadium Club was bigger in the '90s than it is today?
Huge. It was like Shaq's biggest rookie the same year, by the way.
Yeah,
And not anymore.
No, not anymore. So there's Stadium Club around,
mm-hmm.
but nobody really likes it. It's cool pictures, cool images on the cards. They do, differentiate with the foil on the names and the Stadium Club logo. But really, it's just not a popular product. Do you think people relate Stadium Club now to Stadium Club back then, and it has a little bit of a crossover in demand for that card?
Definitely. 100%. I mean, you're 100% correct. And that's why I think this card is currently $850 instead of $3,000 to $4,000 like its counterparts are. And I think Topps is Topps, right? People like to buy the Topps rookie card, and that's probably why that Jeter card has seen the increase that it is. People are now prospecting. People are coming in and they buy their Mike Trout Topps rookie. They buy their Acuna Topps rookie. They buy their Tatis Topps rookie, and they said, "Let me go back and I'm going to buy the Jeter." And the Jeter is the Topps rookie. No one's really going back and looking for the Stadium Club. But I think, just as you want to talk about other brands today, right? When someone's priced out of the Luca Prism, what do? They look at the optic. Or
Yep.
they go down to the Hoops or the Donruss or, the Revolution or the Mosaic or, whatever we're going to
Whatever
talk
they can
about
afford.
today, right? Exactly. So there are different price points for collectors. And I think what you're seeing now with that Topps Gold, with only 382 of them, is they're being gobbled up by people who are going to put them in safes. They're going to put them in their blue chip, portfolios, and they're soon going to be, at a price range where you can't get them anymore. And I think what people are going to do is look for that next option. And 93 was not 89. You didn't have as many Jeter things. Cool part about with Jeter also, like we talked about, he wasn't a rookie till 96. So these are the options. With Griffey, I could talk about his rookie cards for 3 years. I think last total, Griffey has 138 rookie cards in 1989. You want to talk about junk wax, right?
And people think that now is a new junk wax era.
Yep, 138. Well, I mean, listen, I think Shohei Ohtani actually had more than that last year or 2 years ago. So
that was, you get those occasional guys. Ohtani, too many.
Too many.
Aaron Judge, Cody Bellinger, specifically Aaron Judge, a ton.
Yeah.
Ronald Acuna, a ton, because these guys Topps Chrome update, his Topps Chrome, his Topps Series 2, his Topps update.
Mm-hmm.
Stadium Clubs, Heritage, you name it. But then you get the guys like, Fernando Tatis, only in Topps Series 2, only in Topps Chrome. So they've done a good job. Kind
Yeah,
of.
listen, I don't see this as a junk era at all. I think this is very different. And remember, I went through the first junk era. I was coherent enough buying cards, and I saw the up, I saw the down, I saw all of it. I remember this Stadium Club Jeter card, and it was cool. It came in an actual like stadium. The Murphy set is the way the set actually came. It was a pretty cool thing. I think you could probably, if you're curious about it, you could probably still find sealed ones online, on eBay, just to see, just get a feel of where these cards came from. This Murphy set, it's called. But your point is well taken, and I preach it, today to people, investing in cards as well. Be careful with Mosaic, because you buy all your Clyde Edwards-Helaire Mosaic cards now, wait for Prism to come out, and people aren't going to be looking for the Mosaic as much.
Correct.
So
It's
yes,
like college
yep,
stuff. People
yep,
put tons of money into it, and then regular comes out and prices drop.
yep.
Okay, Cage, we're at 25 minutes, so
Yeah.
let's really book through
You got it. So I'll
Griffey
finish
here.
up. I'll finish up. So we got to do Griffey, right? So one more I want to do for Upper Deck. What do you want? You want to finish in 5 minutes? You got five
No,
more
we
minutes?
don't. We can 10 minutes. 10
Okay,
minutes,
cool. So
probably.
the one more Griffey, the one more Gino one I want to talk to everybody about is his 93 Upper Deck. There's a gold hologram version. It only came out in factory sets, and they did it. It was weird. Upper Deck did it. 1 in 15 sets had a gold hologram on the back of the card. If you know anything about Upper Deck cards, they had a little hologram. That was like their little calling card. The vast majority of them had a silver hologram.
Yep.
But 1 in 15 had a gold. There's only 43 PSA 10s, which is crazy. And the price on this is pretty significant, right? It's a $5,000-ish card. That's another one you can look for. There's not that many 9s on it either. So those are my 4 Jeter rookie cards that I would look for. And we'll jump into Griffey.
So
Yeah,
just to make sure everyone understands,
yep.
when you flip the Upper Deck card around, in
Yep.
the corner there will be an Upper Deck silver label. If you happen to have a
Correct.
gold one, you've struck gold.
That's better. 1 in 15, only available in factory sets. Anything pack pulled was also silver. It's that little diamond-shaped hologram on the back of an Upper Deck card. You can see it. The vast majority of them are silver hologram. Some of them are gold. And, if it's slabbed by PSA, the slab will actually say gold hologram. So they make it easier for you. And you'll see them there on eBay, several $1,000s. But that's one I think that it'll have a come up also. And if you're looking for, novelty stuff, he's got a 1996 Leaf signature auto, which is really cool. There's a bronze, a silver, and a gold. These are 4-figure cards, but it was like the first certified autograph on a card. Leaf is different now than it was then. You hear Leaf now, it's like I don't want to buy it. Leaf was an actual licensed product back then. So the 96 Leaf signature auto is a really cool one to go after if you're an auto guy or you're somebody who doesn't want to buy base cards now but likes the RPAs instead. That's a Jeter play for you. Again, 1996 Leaf signature auto. There's a base version, bronze, silver, and a gold. The gold is only 6 PSA 10s, so good luck.
Right? Better have some cash on you.
Exactly. So Griffey, you can't talk Griffey without starting right there. That is his 1989 Upper Deck. That's a PSA 10. This card, this is an amazing story, right? Because when I bought this card, I paid $400 for this card nearly 2 years ago. And I will tell you, if you look at a chart, we talked about, taking charts out. This card from 2017 to 2019 was between $400 and $500 all day, every day. And there was no shortage of them on eBay at that price. And the reason for that is because PSA has graded 75,764 of those cards as of today. Now, that's a lot of those cards. And I think the Upper Deck might still be printing these in the back room, by the way. If you don't know what I'm talking about, do a little research on this. People thought that they did a second print run. I mean, there's just no shortage of the 89 Upper Deck Griffey Jr. card. That doesn't make it any less iconic. It is, if you're writing a baseball card book, this should be right next to, the 52 Mickey Mantle. It's an iconic card. It was the symbol of, 80s, 90s, you'll call it junk wax now. They weren't calling it junk wax at the time, but this was the baseball boom at the time. That was the cover. I don't know how Upper Deck did it, but he was card number 1 in a 1989 set. Obviously everybody knew who was coming up, but just by comparison, we'll get to the Topps card for him. He didn't have a Topps card in the regular set. They didn't put him in the set until the 89 traded set, which came out at the end of the year and talked about guys who were traded and rookies who came out, which is now update. Exactly. Which, nowadays Topps does it strategically. Back then, Topps, I think, just missed the boat. They just didn't, and it was bad for them because people weren't ripping Topps wax packs because he wasn't in the wax pack, whereas he was in all the other sets. But to get back to this card, right? 3,884 PSA 10s. That's a lot. But the demand for this card is huge. And what we saw recently was, I'll just do kind of like a um, trend from 17 to 19. December of 19, you started to see this hit $500. April of this year, I saw a sale at $681. So it's starting to go up, obviously, between 400 and 500 to almost 700 is a nice increase. But between April and now, it's a $1,500 to $1,700 card. So from April, it's definitely doubled.
Yep.
And close to tripled in value. And I think what you're seeing there is, everybody talks about vintage, right? But most people are directing you towards vintage in basketball and recently vintage in football. I think that there are people out there who are building out portfolios, whether they're people who are going to be making hedge funds out of cards and buying a Giannis or a LeBron and making a hedge fund of cards, you name it, or there are just people who are putting together an alternate portfolio to stocks and just doing it with blue chip sports cards. And anyone who's doing that will have this card in PSA 10 in it. And I think you had enough people who did that the 3,800 became a smaller number than it normally was. I mean, this was a card that was $500-$600, no problem, and now you can't get one for that. You got to pay $1,500 or more for one, and it makes sense to me. It's like a big boat, right? It takes a while to turn. The bigger the boat is. It's the same on this one, right? So I mean, 3884 is a pretty big boat. By comparison, just to give you some other Griffey plays, a couple of these my favorites. 1989 Bowman. And we talked about Bowman before, but Bowman was very different back then. 89 Bowman was the first time that Bowman came out after the 40s and 50s when it was a standalone product. It was
when it was a gum company.
Exactly. Yogi Berra had a rookie in Bowman in 48, but the Topps won the Bubblegum Wars, which is a good book. If you haven't read that one, take a look. And Bowman is a Topps product. 89 Bowman was a weird product because it was a slightly jumbo-sized card. It was bigger. I don't know why they did that, but maybe to differentiate itself. But Griffey had a card number 220 in that. Because it was larger, there's condition issues with it. Because you couldn't put it in a regular 9-page binder like we were doing with our cards. So, the corners got dinged on these, dinging corners, right? So unlike the 89 Upper Deck that has 3,884, the Bowman card, there's about half of those. The base is about 1,500 or so of them, and you can buy the Bowman card of Griffey for between $200 and $300 in PSA 10. Now, a sneaky play for you guys, and it's not that sneaky anymore. I really wish I would have bought one of them instead of buying my Jeter cards and these things. Topps has a Tiffany set. And if you're looking in this era, 80s cards, Roger Clemens rookies, Kirby Puckett rookies, you name it, even Barry Bonds, there's a Tiffany version that only came out in factory sets. They were limited. And basically, they're glossy versions. They had like a different color back and a little glossier sheen on the card. There's an 89 Bowman Tiffany card. There are only 156 PSA 10s of the Griffey. So it's a low pop. It is a Bowman Tiffany, really cool card. Last year, you could buy the card for $2,000. And in April of this year, they were about $3,200. The most recent one sold for $8,000. And here's why. You only got them in factory sets, Tiffany. And the 89 Bowman was one of those Tiffany sets that was produced in low quantity. Only 6,000 total sets ever made.
Oh, wow.
So you want to talk about junk wax. The cards that I'm going to give you here for Griffey, they are basically junk wax repellent. They are ways of playing a junk wax era where it was not junk. Because even though everything else was produced in mass quantities, there are things you can look for in that era that were not produced in the quantities that everything else was. PSA's only graded 1,500 of these Tiffany Griffeys and only 156 in PSA 10. Similar to the Tiffany, and I'll come back to Tiffany in a second, but similar to Tiffany, 1989 Fleer, card number 548. There is a Griffey in there, and there's 4,422 PSA 10s of that base card, and you can pick that up for $100, $125, and it's a great card. But the Upper Deck one has 3,800, and think of what it took to steer that ship and turn it around and get that momentum, and that is an iconic card. The Fleer base is probably never going to get there, right? You want to put $100 in there, and next year it'd be 150 or 130, and maybe in 10 years it's a $200, $250 card. Sure, it's not going to go down. Right, it's a card that it's a blue chip guy, but
extremely safe.
It's a safe investment, but it's also never going to be something you're showing off, that Fleer card. But I got one for you. Fleer made their version of Tiffany called Glossy, And in PSA,
Really hit it right on the nose there.
Fleer Glossy, that's what
Yeah.
it's called. That's right there on the slab. Only 117 of those in PSA 10. And this one, it's jumping. Just as the April to now on the Bowman Tiffany went from 3,200 to 8K. This is a card again. I wish I would have bought. A lot of regrets, right? Last year you could get it for $1,000. Going into Christmas, about 1,500. In April, I saw sales for 1,700, 16 and change. Now it's about $3,000. So even though it's junk wax and it's 89, there are ways to play Griffey. And my favorite one is next. So he didn't have a Topps card in packs, but he had a Topps traded card. All right. He had a Topps traded, and Topps traded also did a Tiffany version in the sets, which is pretty cool, right? So you want to take a guess because everybody wants the Topps card, right? Everybody wants the Jeter Topps card, everybody wants the Trout Topps card, Acuna, whatever you're collecting now. I'm gonna just hold on to your seat for a second. The Topps traded base PSA 10. There are 11,974 of them. PSA 10s. Now that's junk era. I mean, we're talking about, I don't know, Tatis numbers here. But, 11,974 PSA 10s of that base. Again, you can get it for 100, 150 bucks. And just like the Fleer base, it's one that's going to probably very slowly climb. But Tiffany, the Tiffany version, it's only 323 PSA 10s. And it, just like the other ones, I don't know, people are obviously onto this now between April and now. Because last year, this was an $800 card. Christmas time last year, you could buy it for $900. And I looked, and you check these, completed sales. In April, $1,500. So it had a nice jump from last year into April. Mm-hmm. From April's $1,500, now it's $2,500 to $3,000. If you can find one cheaper than that, buy it and sell it to me. I'm looking for one myself before it does that tripling that the other guys did. It's just a cool card. It's his Topps rookie. It's a Tiffany version. It's rare. And for somebody like Griffey to have a rookie card that's only got 300 total PSA 10s, that's a cool way to go. Inserts, right? Both Jeter and Griffey have 1996 select certifieds that have mirror parallels, mirror gold, mirror red, mirror blue. They're real tough to come by in PSA 10, but they're really, really cool looking cards. I can't talk about Griffey without talking about the 1993 Finest, card number 110, also a refractor. It's only 42 of those. I owned one, sold it recently. Just real cool cards. But you can find Griffey stuff at any price range. I picked this one up myself. It's not certified, but your 2012 Prism guy in basketball, there's a silver PSA 10 for Griffey. You can get, and here's one of my favorites in a cheaper price range for you guys. When I collected in the 90s, this was like the coolest card. You saw this at a card show. It's called the Hot Glove. You see that card? It's a die. Yeah, it's a cool card.
I gotta say, 90s had some sweet looking cards.
So this card here, 1994 Flair Hot Glove. And this is a PSA 10. You see, it's cool. It's got him like die cut. It's an actual die cut glove there. This card, you can get this card now for, a couple $100 in PSA 10.
PSA 10?
PSA 10, yep.
You got a die cut glove from the 90s.
Yep.
And it's PSA 10. That's amazing that it stayed in that condition.
Well, this one here, believe it or not, there are like a couple of hundred in PSA 10. So this one here, the card stock is very thick, and it survived. As opposed to this one here, I love the Hot Gloves. So it went from Flair to, this is 2001 Fleer Legacy Hot Glove. You can check it out. It's got a game ball in there. See the MLB swatch inside the glove. It's a pretty cool thing.
I
know you can kind of tell.
It's got the little logo.
Yeah, it's got the logo, the MLB logo in there. It's a pretty sick piece. There's less than 10. There's less than 10 of these in PSA 10. So this one costs a little bit more. But Hot Gloves those were my favorite. But I mean, there are no shortage of awesome inserts. One of my favorite. I'll pull out. I got a whole box here. Just the name of it, so your audience will get a kick out of this. If you don't laugh at this, you should find a new hobby. But I love metal cards, and in the 90s, there are a million metal Griffies. You could buy the base cards, you name it, Metal Universe. But this one I had to have. It's a PSA 10, also really low pop. That is Ken Griffey Jr. Metal Universe, 1999, and it's called Boys with the Wood. Hey, you're laughing. Say. So there you go. Boys with the Wood. I don't know who designed that one. I think they were making a play on Boys in the Hood, but it just sounds terrible. So that's just one of those cards you kind of have to have in your collection if you're a Griffey guy like me. So there you go. We can end it with boys with the wood. Yeah, like that one. It's good stuff. So I got a whole stack of Griffey stuff over here. One of the ones I'm chasing because I'm a Griffey collector. If you're an autograph guy, I like to also, I like to be mindful of the guys who don't want to just do base cards and want to do like RPAs in basketball now. That's why we gave the '96 Select Certified Griffey Jeter play. A really cool 1994 Upper Deck has a Griffey Mantle auto. The dual auto of the two of them was inserted in packs. It's a really cool thing. You still get it, I mean, if you want a PSA 10, try good luck. But you can get them in lower grades, and it's still certified and still authentic. And that's a cool card because it was like an actual certified autograph issue by Upper Deck in '94 that has
actually autographed by Mickey Mantle.
Yep, autographed by Mantle and autographed by Griffey. It was weird. They did versions of it with just Griffey autographed one side. They did one with just Mantle autographed, but there's a dual. Take a look at it. It's a pretty cool card. You can find them there on eBay.
You ever see those dual autographed Tom Brady cards where it's I forget who it's by, but it's Tom Brady autographs one side and like Chad Henne autographs the other, or somebody like that.
Yeah, I think he's got like a bunch of those. Mark Bolger's on one side, and but Chad Henne was obviously the same school, so that's why he's on it, right? I think they both went to Michigan.
Oh, I did not know. I also just pulled the name out of my.
I think that's true.
Oh, he's on there. Don't ask me why that was the first thing that popped into my head.
I think that's probably why. Subconsciously, you probably realized that it was a Michigan tie. I think. Don't hold me to it. I'm here to talk about baseball, Griffey and Jeter. I'm not a Tom Brady expert, but if you need me to be, give me a week.
There you go. All right, Cage. Well, can we get a little recap on your?
Sure.
Just because that was a lot of cards. Let's get a little recap. Your top buy for both Griffey and Jeter, and your favorite card for Griffey and Jeter.
Sure. So, I mean, if you're going to start a Jeter collection, you should try to get that SP foil in whatever grade you can afford. All right, the 8s, because there's almost 9,000 of them, you should be able to buy an 8. If you want to, try to find something between 8 and a 9, you can get a BGS 8.5, BGS 9, still pretty inexpensive. I see BGS 9 selling for less than $1,000, which is still, it's still, I think, a good purchase. Those haven't flown like the PSA 9s have. My recommendation for best value for potentially, your price increasing the way that these other cards have is that 93 Stadium Club Murphy edition, because there's still less than 1,000 of those, and it hasn't seen the price jump that the other ones have during the same time period. I expect that to kind of change. I know there are some issues with Stadium Club, right? I know people don't love Stadium Club now. It's a real cool, iconic card. It's one of the few rookie cards that he had in '93. And if you can't afford getting in at a high grade on either the Topps Gold or the SP foil, or the gold hologram, this card is a much cooler, much cheaper alternative that, believe it or not, I think because of the price point, has some real upside to it, because I think people can buy a few of them. So that's my pick on Jeter. My favorite card for Griffey is, and always will be, this one, the 89 Upper Deck card number 1. But as we've seen, this card, it's tripled basically this year. I mean, in December it was a $500 card, and in April it was $681, and now it's a $1,500 to $1,700 card. So I anticipate that to continue to go up, but I wouldn't think it's going to triple the whole, you name it, the rest of the way. But, the lower end where I'd recommend you maybe, putting some money into, if you can still find them, it has gone up recently. But if you can find the Topps Tiffany number 41, there's 323 of them. So it's, it's definitely one where you can, get in on a Topps rookie card of him. It's Topps traded Tiffany. And if you can't find a PSA 10, PSA 9 is a good version of that too. I think what we're seeing in the market, although I just told you to go to Stadium Club for value on Jeter, I think what we're seeing is people, lean towards Topps. They want to get a rookie card. They want to get a Topps rookie card of a guy, and this is the way to play him. It's the Topps traded Tiffany. So there's my fun, and look for hot gloves. There's plenty of these out there. I don't know whether it's going to go up or down. I mean, but this is. I mean, you find somebody who is anywhere near in age to me, and you show them this card, and they're like, I remember those. I mean, it was a huge chase card, and it's a cool set. And not just Griffey. You could buy like Maddox PSA 10 for like $35. I mean, there are some cool guys in the set too. I like, it's a nostalgia play for me. I love it.
Yeah, they had ridiculous. I admire the '90s because you look back at all the inserts and all the cards they had, and it's just absurd. Like, nobody that today would make a glove.
Team Timber is what this is called.
Is it actually out of wood?
Yep. So we got a wood card there. I mean, there's definitely no shortage. We talk about metal, 96 metal, heavy metal, heavy metal. I mean, there are no shortage of these cards. These are all PSA 10s.
Do you remember the gold cards back in the day where they put like gold leaf or gold like
gold foil,
24 karat foil on top?
Yep, I have one of the hot gloves. They tried to copy that in '95 Flair hot glove. See how it's all gold. The whole card is gold foil.
You can barely see the glove.
Yeah, you can barely see the glove, which this is not as popular.
Yeah,
that's why. Don't fix it if it ain't broken. That's the deal. Also, guys, Griffey is one of those cool things where you can find cards at any price, even in PSA 10, and don't shy away. I'm a Panini guy, right? Because Panini's high now, even though it's not licensed. But take a look. I'm just going to show you a couple cards I picked up for like $20 recently. Here's a 2013. Can you see this little, American flag, cool USA Team USA, Team Griffey 2013 in PSA 10. And here's also 2013 Panini Pinnacle Essence of the Game. It's a clear, see-through kind of like acetate looking card. I mean, you can find PSA 10 Griffey Jr. cards, especially like Panini ones like that, $25, $30. They're really cool cards.
Yeah. And you can get a Griffey in your collection for a low price.
Yep.
Well, Cage, we're coming up on 46 minutes here, so we better sign off. Thank you for joining Dinging Corners today.
I really
appreciate it. I hope everyone that was listening to this podcast gained some information on Jeter and Griffey, especially the guy that DM'd us about it.
And before I let you go,
yeah,
Lucas, Tigers, and Bronze. I know probably most of you already heard of it, right? But, that's our podcast. And today, I mean, I don't know when you're dropping this, and we're live now, I guess. But, we're going to have Gary V on. So that's our episode. Ooh. Dropping it today. It's October 14th.
This will be dropped tomorrow on Thursday.
There you go.
10/14 Wednesday. But if you're watching this, go look up Lucas, Tigers, and Bronze on my podcast. You can find a Instagram page. You can find it on Spotify, I assume. Apple.
Yep, Spotify, Apple, everywhere where you can find podcasts, it's there.
Perfect.
So
YouTube?
And the first, we're on YouTube. Well, YouTube. Just starting on YouTube. So, But, I mean, if you guys are on there, and you're hearing this on October 15th, take a look. The last episode posted will most likely be us with Gary V talking everything sports cards. So, see what his thoughts are of the hobby today, where it's gone, the recent dip, where he sees it going, and a lot of other cool little tidbits there. But listen, before I let you go, thank you guys. What you guys do is amazing for the hobby. I love the graphs. I love the graphics. I love the questions. I love the interaction you have with your crew. You are what's different in the hobby today than the last time we had something blow up like this. Last time we had this in the 80s with junk wax, where people would call it a bubble. People were just buying anything they can get their hands on without doing any type of education. And the ancillary businesses did not grow with it. People were not doing what you did. People were not putting out content like this because it just was a different world. People were not being educated. People weren't, telling people about what happened in the past. And you weren't giving this, this analytical data, the statistics. Here's the price trends. Here's the ups. Here's the downs. And I think people like you in the hobby and the podcast, like myself, I think we can help kind of, make sure that people go into this with both eyes open. And I don't see this as a bubble. I mean, I see this as, it's something that's going to last. And I think it's, there's obvious reasons why people have gone to sports cards as an alternate investment. But I just want to say thank you for everything you guys do. I am a fan, and, I can't wait for the email every day. And I'm like, okay, what am I buying today? What bargains have they found for me? So thanks, guys.
I appreciate it, Cage. Thank you for the kind words. And thank you, everyone. I don't say this enough. Thank you, everyone, for who watches this podcast, listens to it, and follows us and interacts with us. We really appreciate it. Go follow Lucas, Tigers, Bronze, Oh My podcast. Listen. And everyone also wish Cage a happy birthday, as it is his birthday today.
There you go. Love it.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. And thank you, Cage, again.
See you guys. Got it. Talk to you soon.